But now I got you on here because, like I had mentioned earlier, we all know you got that disability, but which almost we don't know because you handle it so well. But this comes into a good angle on handgun selection for some people out there who may have a similar disability or haven't thought about, hey, there's a gun out there that I can actually use. So let's talk about this. First of all, say hi again to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
We're going to have this as a video, obviously Monday or Tuesday, and people who know you can handle it pretty good, but people who don't know you will probably never know you've got a disability. So why don't you tell everybody exactly what you have again and what kind of problems that cause, and we'll start talking about some guns that we can use.
Okay. Well, as Matt mentioned, I do have a slight disability. It's cerebral palsy, and it does limit me from a dexterity standpoint on the right side of my body. My right hand and my right leg are both weaker than on my left side, and also the dexterity, movement, etc. is what is limited as far as function-wise. So from a shooting standpoint, when I began getting interested in firearms and carrying a concealed weapon, etc., I had to start looking for guns out there that would suit me. And literally, it was a trial and error from the very beginning. Unfortunately, I went to a rival of yours to take
what?
the concealed carry.
Well, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
man. I'm sorry that you had to do that. I'm sorry
Well,
that
it's,
you went
it's
through that.
unfortunate because I didn't know you at the time.
Okay, all right. Okay,
yeah.
you're all right.
But anyway, I went to one of your rivals, and
They're probably
one
not
of
in
the
business anymore anyway.
right, one of the weapons that I learned on was the Glock 19, and this gentleman had a 19 that probably had like 20,000 rounds through it. It was well broken in. And it was my first experience with a handgun in probably 30 years. And so anyway, long story short, when I shot it, it felt really comfortable.
Come a little closer to the mic. Okay.
It felt really comfortable. So what happened was, once I started shooting the gun, I just thought, hey, this is like the easiest gun in the world to shoot, and this is the gun for me. Well, at the time, I didn't even think about my limitations or my disability with my right hand because it just didn't occur to me. I figured if I shot with my left hand, because I'm left-handed, that's all I needed to worry about. And then I started shopping for different guns out there. Went to gun shows and just started looking at guns like revolvers and 1911s, pretty much every gun out there. And then I decided, hey, I wanted to do some competitions. I went to my first competition, was an IDPA competition, and it was a qualifier or a classifier. And what it was in part of the classification process, you had to shoot with your weak hand. Well, I ended up having to stop because I was so afraid of having to shoot with my weaker right hand. And it just was a sobering experience at first. So they took me aside and we stopped the classifier for myself, and we went to another bay at the range and just started shooting with my right hand until I felt comfortable.
Let me ask something. If you don't mind, let's look at your hand real quick. What does that disease do? Does it cause your muscles not to flex right?
Well, what it does is it's very limiting. Its strength is more the issue than anything else, and coordination. It's not as fast with gripping with my left hand versus my right hand.
Okay.
So I have to be very deliberate in using my right hand.
I think what you're talking about here could apply to somebody who's got arthritis.
No, it has nothing to do with arthritis or
I'm not
anything
talking
like
about
that.
I'm talking mobility wise.
Similar, but it's more different than it is similar to someone with another condition like arthritis or MS or something along those lines.
What I'm trying to get at, I'm not clear in my words. What I'm trying to get at is if somebody's got a problem with their hand, if you got an arthritic hand and you can't move it very well, although it may be different in its problematic ways, you still have to go through the same thought process and trial by error that Robert has gone through to work a gun for his hand. So if you got an arthritic hand, it's a great episode to listen to because it's going to maybe open up some ideas that you haven't thought about. So that's
right. Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yes, you have to be thoughtful in the process because, like I mentioned before, a 1911 is really a cool gun. I like to call them barbecue guns because that's what people wear at barbecues with their nice, nice holsters and belts and the nickel-plated 1911 and all that kind of stuff. But for me, from a practical purpose, if I cannot shoot a gun with my right hand, I will not own it. I just will not own it. I won't even have a safe queen because it's not practical to me. So all of my firearms that I have in my possession are ones that I can use.
Okay.
Okay. It's just plain and simple. Plus, they have to be fully ambidextrous. The trigger pulls have to be light. They have to be less than 5 pounds. And with trigger jobs and parts, it's easy to find
I'll tell
trigger
you what,
setups.
let's talk about that trigger pull, because
Okay.
trigger pull, man, is everything when it comes to shooting a firearm. Okay,
It is.
other than sighting it properly.
Right.
Okay, but we got this 38 442 Smith & Wesson revolver. It's a hammerless handgun, and it has an 8 to 12 pound trigger pull on this gun.
Right.
If you had to use that with your right hand, it takes an extremely long and hard trigger pull to pull that firearm. That's out of the question for you. Okay.
That's correct.
1911s are beautiful weapons, even though some people say they're just for barbecues. I saw a picture of some old guy holding one of these cell phones, these old boxy cell phones, and the caption read, if you own a 1911, this is probably what you look like. And he's got the big cell phone. But anyway, they're great guns because the triggers are so good. Clear. And you'll notice the trigger is a 3 to 5 pound trigger pull, minimum break. But you're saying because you like the Glock, it's almost basically the same angle as a 1911, but the trigger pull on that's what, about 3 to 5 pounds, isn't it?
3 to 5 pounds.
3 to
yes.
5 pounds. Breaks really nice and easy. So now that I got that on video, continue on.
Okay. So anyway, like I was mentioning.
You want to answer?
Yeah.
Like anyway, what I was mentioning was. Go ahead.
This is Matt with the Aaron's High Cap Adventure Radio program. You're on the air. How are you?
I don't want to be on the air. I was trying to get an answer to a question. I'll call back after you're off the air.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Bye.
Okay, but anyway, so what it is when I look at guns, the first thing I want to look at is what is the trigger pull on the gun? What is the weight of the gun? Are the sights what I like on there? And of course, a lot of this stuff can be already changed if I just like the appearance of the gun. Most manufacturers out there make trigger packs, different sights, etc., so that way it would suit my physical limitations. Because if, like I said before, if I can't shoot the gun with my right hand, I just won't own it.
Let's bring it into an aspect of this of concealment. You've got these Glock 19s. They're bricks. Okay, they're just a brick, awesome brick, but it's still a brick, and it's difficult at times, depending on how you dress, to conceal this weapon if that is what you wish to do. But now being in an open carry state, the method of hiding it doesn't really come into effect too much. But let's just say you want the gun concealed. Have you come up with different guns that work for the concealment aspect of it that may be smaller than your Glock 19?
No, I just wear bigger clothes.
Okay, so you're
I compensate not with the weapons. I compensate with the attire that I sport whenever I decide to carry concealed or carry open.
That's an awesome comment, man. That's really an awesome comment, because what you're doing is you're not going to let it stop you. You're going to figure out a different way to get what you need done, and that is to carry a weapon that works for you because of your disability, both left and right-handed. But so what do? You wear bigger clothes. There's always a way around it. I'll tell you.
Definitely.
You've got. What about your opinion on the Trigger Guard magazine release? What do you think about that? Does that benefit you? Like, let's show them.
Actually, yes, I brought in my H&K VP9, which you can see on the camera here, and both sides of it. And on the bottom of the Trigger Guard is the mag release, where my index finger is on video here. And what it is that I normally do mag releases with my trigger or index finger. Because I'm so programmed with Glock to do that, because for a long time Glock didn't have an ambidextrous mag release. The H&Ks have always had paddle releases, or most of the time have had paddle releases, and those actually were a little bit more convenient because they're closer to the trigger.
It's funny though, I will never own that gun for that reason. That scares the heck out of me.
Well,
it's amazing different preferences,
right.
Because I'm afraid as my thumb's coming down, I'm going to sweep it, and there goes my mag. I have to deliberately push the button, but that's my personal preference.
And it's all about personal preference.
But isn't that what the PPQ, the first model, had, and they changed it to the push button?
That's correct. They did have a paddle release on the PPQ Model 1, and then when they updated it, they got rid of the paddle release in favor of a button release that was ambidextrous, which means it could be switched out on either side, so that you could press a button with your thumb. I'm so programmed, as I said before, to use my index finger that I just it doesn't matter that the mag release is on the left side of the gun, which would be the thumb for the right-handers. So anyway, but that's one of the things that I like about the VP pistol. Another thing that I like about the VP pistol with my limitations is on the back of the gun, they have these slight protrusions for easy gripping. And for a weak-handed individual like myself...
Let's see if we can get a closer picture of that.
Yeah.
It's just where you would put your hand to pull the slide to the rear, it has extensions that come out so it's catching. You've got something to catch on.
Right, and then so I'm twisting it around so that way it can be seen by the camera and such. So anyway... What I like about that gun, it's a very nice feature because it's subtle, but yet
doesn't the Glock have a back plate that does that extension?
It does, but it's bulky and it will catch on things. So that was one of the things that I didn't like as an aftermarket part for the Glock. But one of the things that I've always liked about the Glock was that it was really easy to maintain, very easy to take apart, shoot, etc.
The other thing too on some of these handguns. For example, I've got this I've got this PA-63 copy of a Walther. It's got the decocker mechanism on the slide, which I kind of use like your tab sticking out. I use that as an extra grip to get onto on the gun so I don't slip off the slide.
Exactly.
Now, I wanted to make a comment because you made a comment about the serrations at the front end of the gun. Let's look at the video again. We have serrations in the back like you normally have on a slide, but then there's some in front of the ejection port towards the muzzle of the barrel on either side. I would like you to tell me why you like those, because although I like them in a classroom environment or utilizing it under a non-stress situation, I do not like to use them at all in a stressful situation. But I'm kind of curious as to why you like them.
I like them because in a non-stressful situation, like you say, when I actually charge the weapon, I put the weapon in my right hand like this, and I actually grab the front of the slide, of course keeping my hand away from the barrel when I pull back. It's just easier for me to do it that way. Plus, I can see the weapon. Plus, I can see the actual shell either being ejected or the next one ready to go back into battery.
All right.
So it's more of a personal preference.
Personal preference. I just want everybody to know, because I want to stay consistent here, I'm totally opposed to that because of what it takes to, in my opinion, through my training, what it takes to get a weapon into action. And I'll give you an example. In the video you'll see, I always say, get your palm to the rear side of the slide, grab, push with the strong hand that the gun is in, and you're going to push and pull at the same time, and you're going to let go. I'm always afraid with the hand in front, you're going to bite yourself if you don't do it properly. You get your hand, when the slide's going forward, get caught into the chamber area, or you can just jack it up in some way. Whereas when it's to the rear, and you pull it, it's the same on every gun. Anyway, just want to make that clear. I'm not changing my attitude towards the way I load the weapon.
And a follow-up to that as well, the thing is where he's coming from is when the slide is open, maybe. But when the slide is open like this, it's always better to grab it from the end and let it go, just like I'm showing you here. But when the gun is like this, when it's in full battery, full closed, that's where I have to grab it sometimes in the front and cock it back. So, and that's more because, again, it's physical limitation. It's you learn as you go, and in 20 years, I can do a lot of stuff that most people with able-bodied hands can do for themselves.
I've seen you do it. Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a master at what you're doing and you got a habit, never close your mind to learning something new. However, some things are better than others, depending, if you've experienced it and see what can happen. So you train certain ways. I've come to certain conclusions and I train that certain way. But if you're doing excellent and you're topping me, don't change a thing. Keep it up. Now, we got a couple minutes left here. Let me ask you this. Let me add on to this because you already made the comment that you just wear bigger clothes. And I wanted to make the comment when it comes to hand selection. Here's one in particular. I've got a 1911, just because I don't have anything else really available here. I've got a 1911, and it's got the slide release on here. It's got the slide safety on the side, and it's got stuff sticking out from the frame. Then I've got this PA-63. It's like a bar of soap. There's nothing. It's all slick. It's all internal. The slide stops on the inside. Okay, it's like a bar of soap. So depending on what you're wearing, what kind of holster you have, what type of mood you're in, a lot of the times I choose a gun due to my back because I got major back problems.
Right.
And if I'm hurting in my back, wearing a bulky gun inside my waist,
Right.
it kind of puts tension on my belt, so I wear it on the outside. And if I wear it on the outside, I want a slimmer profile. Slimmer profile is a slicker gun like this, or a Glock 43 or a Glock 42. If I'm going to wear something on the inside and I don't care about the bulkiness, I may wear my 1911 on the inside and I don't want to print on the outside. So I've got to compensate. If I got a big gun and I want to keep it trim, I'm putting it on the inside of my pants. If I don't care about making a print or carrying it open, I'll wear the big gun on the outside. If I want to wear a gun on the outside, but I don't want to make a major print, I'm going to carry a small, compact, slim gun so I can maintain a sleek profile. I like to wear tight clothing. It has nothing to do with fashion. It has to do with tactical. If I'm wearing tight clothes, I feel things better. If I brush up against something, I feel it. Master Cindy Key also makes the comment, if you're wearing baggy clothes and she's going to do a crotch shot, she can grab a lot more on a baggy set of pants than she can in a tight pair of pants. So it's a tactical reason why I'm wearing tight clothes. So this all comes into play. Whereas Robert has a slight disability and he compensates by wearing big, I try to compensate by getting a smaller gun because I'm able to at least manipulate different size guns. Before we close up on this, and Trey, you might want to queue up Cindy Key's. You got one?
I got one.
I got one queued. Okay, because Master Cindy Key can't make it today, so we're going to play a repeat on her. But with a couple of minutes we got left, Robert, you got anything else you want to add on to that?
No, other than that,
Any
if
advice
you
to give somebody?
well, if you cannot use a firearm as other or most everybody does, what I recommend is there's a lot of trial and error in it. Don't focus on cost of a weapon. Focus on comfort and the ability to use it, because if you focus on cost, you're going to limit yourself as to what's available to you to use. For me, it was a lot of trial and error, but believe it or not, I always went back to the original. My first gun was a Glock 19. What do I like? Glock 19. And I've had every other gun out there. Almost all the guns out there are really cool, but for me, it's not.
I want to make a comment on that too. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're short $100 from purchasing a gun, wait. Save the $100. The grade of gun you will get with an extra $100 is incredible. Although there's some good low-cost guns out there, they're limited. If you can just wait just a little bit longer, save up that extra $100, you'll put yourself in a whole new realm of firearms that you can get. And if you have any questions, give me a call. We can talk about it.
One thing I will add to that is ANC Firearms has a layaway program too. If you have $300 and you need 4, put $300 on the gun and spend the $100 later on.
There you go. That's it. They do have an excellent program. I never mentioned that. That's a good idea. Give Agency Firearms a call too, 254-983-4417. Robert, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's great. It's going to be a great video when it comes out Monday or Tuesday. So check it out. Become a subscriber to the YouTube channel at Aaron's Gun Shop. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. And we'll be back in just a minute with Master Cindy Key. Awesome, buddy. That was pretty good.